So we've got the co-main event. That's going to be Gilbert Burns versus Stephen Thompson. We're talking about kickboxers transitioning to the UFC through Israel Adesanya, but let's talk about Stephen Thompson. He coming from a karate background, then moving on to the UFC, done incredible work at the UFC. Now fighting a welterweight against Gilbert Burns, who's an ex-title contender. Him being Stephen Thompson being an ex-title contender himself twice against Tyron Woodley. So it's interesting because Stephen Thompson, he's probably the only person out of the maybe top 5 or 6 that hasn't fought Kamaru Usman. And that's what makes his matchup quite interesting, outside of maybe a Vicente Luque and Michael Chiesa and Hamzat Chimaev and things like that. What do you think about this fight? What do you think about this matchup?
Well, we got to look at really how much damage that Gilbert kind of absorbed when it came to his fight with Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman pretty much outplayed him. He dominated him throughout the whole fight. But then you got Stephen Thompson, who's on something of a resurgence. His last fight was like the old school Stephen Thompson. He's a very good, that horse karate stance, and he's very quick off that front leg. Not a lot of fighters usually use that front leg as much as he does. So, but one thing we've got to understand is that Stephen Thompson's kind of aging a little bit right now. I mean, I know that he's in his late 30s, isn't he?
I think he's about 36, 37, something like that. Yeah. Mm. Or Leon Edwards, and he's called out them for quite a while, and
yeah,
it's been mainly it would have been a great fight, but it's mainly been on deaf ears, to be honest. Stephen's been trying as much as he can. An interesting quote from Gilbert was he's been asked, so with this matchup, it seems like it's a title eliminator for the title contender, right? And what do you think happens? And he says, if Stephen beats me, yes, he's the next title contender. If I win, no. Which is interesting. It's an interesting thing to talk about. So he believes if Stephen beats him himself, being one of the last title contenders who was knocked out by Kamaru Usman in the 3rd round, it's interesting to see that even Gilbert respects the fact that if he loses to Stephen Thompson will be kind of catapulted to another fight. A fight with a new champion. Instead of the Tyron Woodley, it's now the successor, Kamaru Usman. So it'll be interesting to see how Gilbert matches up with Stephen, because Stephen's quite a tall man for the welterweight division. He has quite a lean physique. He doesn't quite have a strong, thick physique like a Gilbert Burns or a Kamaru Usman or anything like that. And Stephen just makes fights interesting. Like if you just put Stephen Thompson against Colby Covington or Leon Edwards, that fight instantly just becomes a little bit more interesting, even if it's by 5 or 10%. So I think this would be really interesting, because the last time Stephen Thompson actually co-mained against on the same card as Conor McGregor, he was fighting Tyron Woodley. So it's interesting to see how after losing to Anthony Pettis, he's now on a 2-fight win streak against Jeff Neal by unanimous decision, and Vincent Luque for a unanimous decision as well. So it will be interesting to see how prepared Thompson is in terms of his conditioning, because he's only been knocked out once in the UFC, I believe, and that was by Anthony Pettis. So it will be interesting to see what happens. I think if Stephen Thompson can build Gilbert Burns, he probably won't be given an immediate title fight because Kamaru is going to fight Colby, and then there's Leon Edwards just waiting there. So I think whoever wins out of this fight will have to fight either a Leon Edwards or a Jorge Masvidal.
And which is
stranger
because Leon Edwards is sick of waiting. He wants a title fight. You know,
Mm.
he's been slowly building up a winning streak, and he fought Diaz just recently. Like, he wants that title shot right now because people forget that he actually beat Usman before.
No, he lost to Usman.
He lost to Usman. And people like forget also that how long it's been since Leon Edwards has actually even come close. And if you look back at, I don't believe Leon Edwards has even had a title shot before.
No.
And if you compare that to Masvidal, to Gilbert, to Stephen, they've all have. Stephen's had a couple of title shots. He fought Tyron Woodley twice. You know, Gilbert's already recently had it. Masvidal's pretty much had his rematch, and he, people were questioning whether or not he deserved it in the first place because, he lost it fair enough the first time, and it was just on the idea of a few weeks' notice and not a full camp. And he wouldn't have got it if it wasn't for Kamaru Usman calling him out. So there you go.
Yeah, it's an interesting time in the welterweight division. I think with Gilbert Burns for Stephen Thompson, I think Thompson is a very interesting fight because he's always got very fluid movement in and out of range. He's got really long limbs. I know he was doing very, very well with a mixture of calf kicks and kicks to the upper thigh that he often uses to freeze his opponent's movement while he still continues to move around. The first thing that most fighters do against Stephen Thompson is butcher his legs because they try and freeze him. That's the main thing with Thompson is he's very tricky. He's just a tricky fighter for people to... he's a seasoned veteran and he's got a lot of tricks under his sleeves. He knows how to lure people into certain traps, and then he's able to smash your legs and move around you very fluidly inside and out of range. And he has the reputation of being a point fighter coming from like a karate background. However, this guy can knock you out, and I think some people even question Gilbert Burns' chin since, he's been knocked out by lightweights before, and he was knocked out by Kamaru Usman with a jab. So it's an interesting fight for Gilbert as well because, he's a younger fighter, not nearly as seasoned as Stephen Thompson. However, he's incredibly well-rounded. His wrestling is very good. I don't think there's not many people in the UFC that have the kind of pedigree of jiu-jitsu that he has, going to ADCC and things like that. And he's got power. He's able to knock you out. His left hook is very quick. It's very, very fast. It's whether or not Gilbert Burns can actually cut the distance and catch Thompson, who is a very, seasoned veteran. Gilbert's path to victory is most likely to butcher Thompson's legs, freeze his movement, even just slow him down so that he's not able to come out of range and catch him. If he wants to take him down, he can. I know Thompson's takedown defense is very good. On the ground, Gilbert takes it. He could definitely submit Thompson. No matter how seasoned, that kind of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu takes years and years to just become proficient. Not even just be excellent, just to be proficient. And I think it's a difficult fight for either man, I think.
Yeah, not even that, but Gilbert Burns competes in grappling tournaments for fun. He has taken on some of the most highest level grapplers in the world. So, I mean, that's definitely something that Gilbert Burns has over Stephen for sure.
So, who do you think wins this fight?
I want to put my money on. Well, that's another thing. I feel like there's a little bit of a two-way street. I feel like Stephen can definitely get a knockout. I believe his striking is very, very high caliber. I do believe that we could be looking at a potential second round knockout, or we could be looking at maybe a second or third round submission by Gilbert. That's my take. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with Gilbert, he could definitely. It's hard because Thompson is able to move around with you, and we could see like a unanimous decision where he's essentially piecing up Gilbert and just coming in and out of range, or we could see Gilbert smashing Thompson's legs, getting into range, knocking him out, or even just getting a knockdown, scrambling on the ground, and just controlling Stephen on the ground. And obviously a submission attempt from Burns is granted from anywhere. So I think, although my heart wants Stephen Thompson because I've already seen Gilbert Burns fight Kamaru Usman, and although he was able to strike with Kamaru Usman, I'd love to see Thompson get his third title fight, which would essentially be probably his last title fight, against Kamaru Usman, because he's always an awkward matchup for anyone. But I think Gilbert Burns takes it. And I think he beats Thompson by decision. I think he will take him down, wrestle him, and control him on the ground. It's whether or not he'd be able to get the submission. He's too well-rounded. He's noticeably younger than Thompson. And I think age can catch up anyone. Gilbert Burns, I think he could submit Thompson, but my safer bet is the unanimous decision.